Most people think Pink Floyd's Animals is just another album in their catalog. It's not. It's one of the most direct and uncomfortable things they ever made. And the reason it feels different is because it doesn't hide what it's trying to say. It puts it right in front of you. But most people miss it because of how it sounds. Long songs, slow pacing, minimal structure. It doesn't try to grab you, it almost dares you to stay. And if you do, that's when it starts to unfold. At its core, Animals is built on a very simple idea. Society can be divided into three types of people: dogs, pigs, sheep. That's it. But what makes it powerful is how accurately those roles still map onto the real world. The dogs represent ambition. These are the people chasing success at any cost. They're competitive, strategic, always calculating their next move. They know how the game works, and they're willing to play it. But there's a trade-off, because in the process they lose something. Relationships become transactional, trust disappears, everything becomes about winning, and eventually they burn out. That's the cycle. Win, climb, consume, collapse. Then you have the pigs, the ones at the top. They don't need to chase anything. They already have control. And their role isn't to compete, it's to maintain the system. They shape perception. They influence behavior. They keep everything running in a way that benefits them. And the most important part, they don't look like villains. They look respectable. That's what makes them effective. And then there are the sheep, the majority. They follow systems they didn't create. They accept structures they don't question. They move with the crowd, not because they're weak, but because it's easier and safer, until something shifts, and then suddenly, the system they trusted doesn't protect them anymore. And this is where the album becomes uncomfortable, because it doesn't position you as an observer. It forces you to ask, where do you fit? Are you chasing, controlling, following, or moving between all three? But here's what makes Animals even more interesting. It doesn't just communicate this through lyrics. It does it through sound. The songs are long, sometimes over 10 minutes. There are extended instrumental sections, repetition, space, moments where not much seems to happen. And that's intentional, because it mirrors the experience of being inside a system. Time stretches, patterns repeat. You get pulled into a rhythm, whether you want to or not. This isn't music designed for quick consumption. It's designed to sit with you, to build slowly, to make you uncomfortable enough to think. And that's a risk, because most artists, especially at that level, optimize for accessibility. Catchy songs, short runtimes, immediate payoff. But Animals does the opposite. It delays payoff. It stretches attention. It demands patience. And that's exactly why it works. Because when something takes time to unfold, it stays with you longer. Another thing people don't talk about, this album sits right between two of their most famous works, and it often gets overshadowed because of that. But in some ways, it's the most focused thing they ever did. No filler, no distractions, just one idea explored fully. And that focus is rare, because it requires saying no to everything else. No extra themes, no unnecessary variation, just commitment to a single perspective. And that's why it still feels relevant today, because the structure it describes hasn't disappeared. It's just evolved. You still have people chasing status. You still have people holding power. And you still have people moving within systems they didn't build. Just in different forms, different platforms, different environments, same dynamics. And that's the real reason Animals lasts. Not because of nostalgia, but because the idea behind it is still true. And once you hear it that way, it stops being just an album. It becomes a lens, something you start noticing everywhere. In business, in media, in everyday life. And that's when it really clicks. Because it's not telling you what to think, it's showing you a pattern. And once you see that pattern, it's very hard to ignore.